Okay, this is my 2015 20 kilowatt Generac generator. At the time, it was the biggest, baddest generator that air cooled that Generac offered. We went through air cooled because I went through research on YouTube that those liquid cooled models starting at 25 kilowatt, and I think whatever they rate at to go up, they you need to change the coolant on them at least twice a year, once a year, every 2 years I think, and because of corrosion, and the corrosion inhibitors in the coolant deteriorate probably, and unlike a car which you is always running, they just pop out, just sit in pockets and everything. So it's sad, and I work with at work. I take care of a 750 kilowatt generator, and it basically, they have a coolant filters on them that change out the coolant filters. And also there's a little probably chemical puck in there that adds a little more anti-corrosion inhibitors to the coolant, so you're not the coolant's not going bad and rusting the machine from the inside out. We chose this size because it was at the time close to the house capacity of 100 amps. But I would probably have gone, if do it today, I'll probably go up to 24, and again avoid liquid cooled as much as possible because of the problem with changing the coolant. This one, all you have to do is, it has a, as you see, a filter there with a heat. This has a cold weather kit, and it has a battery heating element, has a heating pad under the battery, and a heater on the oil filter. So as it gets below freezing, it'll automatically turn on. There's a temperature thermostat switch there that kicks in. And I also have a heating element on the vent tube to vent water vapor coming up from the crankcase when it's running, blocking the vent tube and popping the oil out through the dipstick or anybody else blowing seals. And yeah, it's been pretty good to us. We run it for we have about 4 hours a year on this generator of power blackouts. We live out in the country, so you're the last one to get power. As it happened in the 2003, Northeast blackout, we had power out here for 22 hours, while the cities were back up in less than probably 12 hours. And yeah, it's that time we ran it on the 3800 Kubota with just essential circuits like fridges and freezers and a big screen TV, and so that and a wall pump. But like I said, I would avoid liquid cooled if it's on a standby like a house. Simply the fact you're going to change the coolant as well as on every 2 years, and every year changing the oil filter. Now the service kit for this is a oil filter, 2 set of plugs, and a air filter. That's general maintenance every year. And last year we usually had done by a dealer, and apparently he didn't show up or wasn't taking calls. So we, when it came due, we decided, buy a filter and buy a couple filters and change oil ourselves, which you could probably do anyways. The service done by the dealer was not only change the oil, change the filters, but actually you check the tension on the terminals to and from the generator, and then the transfer panel. And just make sure overall there's no bad corrosion on the electrical end of the system. That was just for $100. Pretty cheap compared to what kind of service you get. But doing general maintenance service, like changing all filters and oil and the air filters, but general service kit, general maintenance filter kit is spark plugs and oil filter and air filter. But I can do that. We can do that ourselves. It's the problem last year, I couldn't get the kits in quick enough before winter rolled around, so I try to cross-reference the oil filter off the this Generac generator, and it was kind of difficult because Generac doesn't lend out cross-references and get that information easily, so you can do it yourself at your own without going through Generac. But regarding the oil filter, I tore it. I'll put a link up there, and I cut it open, just to see what the construction was, and it was a fairly fairly good filter. So I won't be hesitant to buy that. Spend the money on a service kit. Like some people are complaining about the cost. Well, you get what you pay for. It's if you can get the same Fram filter, a dozen of them for the same price, go ahead. Or a Wix, whatever this is. There's a Wix filter on here right now. I can easily cross-reference that next time. But another thing is to get a set of plugs, and they want you to change the spark plugs, and I kind of don't see that right now, because it's a fairly clean running engine, and it's basically brand new. My experience, I got a snowblower that's bought in 2005 and never changed the spark plug on it. It's changed oil. Well, I didn't barely change oil on that either, but been barely used, so I don't think. And it starts on the first full, so I'm not really too worried. Now this, oops. This is the air filter. Got in a clean bag. Generac filter. Champion plugs. And this is the air filter. It looks like a regular car filter you can get somewhere. So the stuff looks like a regular car filter if you just get the dimensions right. But I would say that probably people cheap out, buy the cheapest oil filter they can get. But if you got a spare one sitting on site, I would say, yeah, buy it from them. Buy that from Amazon, which I did, and get the right one. But do it yourself. I decided why I would change the plugs and the air filter, but basically clean. It's this generator is surrounded by grass. There's gravel. There's not really much dirt that I can kick up to. So, and the plugs, I think they've been changed the year before. So I'll wait till September when I do my regular maintenance. But yeah, it's fairly reliable. Exercises once a week. I'll exercise tomorrow. And I would say, there's other brands like Champion, Cummins, Briggs & Stratton, which have come into the picture of these portable, these household generators. And I would definitely be wary of that brand, because Generac's, I think, been around longer than these people. They've been around longer than Champion and and you know, Briggs and Stratton and Cummings. You know, Cummings is just a name, but you know, it's a cookie cutter fucking probably generator. Just like the Champion, they probably made Chinese. This Generac engine apparently is made in-house. You know, probably designed by somebody for them for their application. So you know, they give a specification of what they want and they build it for them. Hopefully, but the hard part is getting parts. You know, it's like getting blood from a stone, getting parts from Generac. And I'm sure that all the extra parts are generic, generic parts off the shelf, which somebody put together when they designed it. But Generac adds a little more money to it. The generator part's probably more special than the engine, so I wouldn't. That's the biggest room. And the service, it's all electronic, control. Gives you warning, gives you exercise time, total hours. Actually gives you total hours of protection. So you'll buy this, if you buy something like this used, you'll know how long it's been so far activated by the previous owner. So he could say he had it for 20 years, but only had plugged it in for 15. So it was sitting there for 5 years. But it's been a regular, it's been a good engine, good generator. We should have had this longer, but economics of everything is, you start up small, but you end up paying how much in the end. By waiting by 2015, we got probably a knockdown, good quality design engine and generator system. We could have gotten earlier from local suppliers that were offering this same thing, but nowadays it's a big industry, big money maker, so that's the big deal now. But yeah, it's I would probably not hesitate to buy another Generac, even if I would have problems later on about that newer model, simply because they've been around longer. They're a big name, and especially in big generators and big and home generators like this. They, you see, Generac has kind of moved into the small portable ones, but go with small portable ones, you probably want to go to a Honda, right? And if you're planning on to power your home with a Honda, a portable generator like we did for a long time, you probably don't want to go smaller than 7,000 watts, and get an inverter type. Go the extra expense, because you're kind of short once you drop below 30 amps on the two phases. You're kind of shortfalling yourself. You're got a big shortfall on the amount of power, and you kind of limit yourself to what you can run at the time. And definitely no AC, definitely no water heaters, but there are probably, again, this transfer panel on this generator, it has a load shedding option, which you can set up to, if there's say your AC, if you got 2 or 3 AC units, and you got a smaller generator like a 16 kilowatt, you can actually shut off a particular AC unit or a electric water heater, and without overloading the generator. It'll do automatically by shutting off the control relay. It's an extra wiring from the transfer switch, but may be required if you got a smaller generator or just have too much of a load on the big ones. It prevents you buying a big one. You buy a 24 kilowatt 100 amp and you still need more. You need 200 amps in your service. You can go through the load shedding option, and do that way. So shed over shed loads. I don't think this gonna probably charge an electric car, but may not generate enough clean power, to definitely not shed to charge a Tesla or something, unless you charge it at lower, not at 30 amps, maybe at 5-10 amps on the car. But yeah, they're quite capable. Hopefully, I have never tested charging up a electric vehicle on this one. I probably can, and they probably have the so-called, the load shedding option that you can do that. And yeah, that's I'm doing a service on it, well, the basic service, and decided to have the dealer come in probably once every 5 years or so to do a major inspection on it, so you're not totally done. There's a lot of things to look at, especially with type of weather. You have humid weather, you got electrical contacts, you got cables, batteries. We had to change the battery on this one time, and so it tells you that if you got low battery, the battery's low on it. The battery's automatically trickle charge. The battery right now is being trickle charged by a trickle charger, so you're not worried about the battery not running low. And like I said, in the cold weather, there's cold weather kits. The heater's on the oil filter, battery pad, heater pad, and the vent tube. That's if you drop, if you're 2 or 3 months below freezing, I guess that's a good that's probably a necessary option to prevent hard cranking on your starter. You don't really need it if your battery's at like 100%. Your battery won't freeze until it reaches like minus, probably like minus, I think it was at 43 or something like that, Celsius or Fahrenheit, something like that. It's pretty low if you get a fully charged battery. It's the freezing point of it's pretty low. Not quite low, but yeah, less of a charge on it the battery has, the easier to freeze. A zero charge on it, it'll freeze because it's, and yeah, it's a good generator, aluminum housing. So it's it costs pretty money, 100 grand, not 100, but 10 grand for a complete setup. But like I said, you can run this on a propane if you want to. And I was thinking of that, having an independent propane tank off the natural gas supply, simply because if they cut the natural gas supply for any reason, like put it in hydro poles, you're out of power. So you can run it on propane in the tank and fill up the tank once a year. Have a dedicated fuel tank that's like that, maybe 500 gallons or something. And so this is it. If anybody's interested in getting something like that, yeah, there is quite a bit of options, especially from Generac. Like I said, the load shedding option. If you buy yourself a smaller generator, something like a 16 or 13 kilowatt generator, you can add load shedding capability on the transfer. The transfer panel has built-in load shedding capability. Other than that, I wouldn't buy, if you want to stick to the portable gas, I wouldn't buy nothing smaller than 7,000 watt, and especially an inverter. Spend the money. Inverter, fuel injected, worth the money, because it's technology. It may be expensive to replace the inverter board, like $800. I think Terrell Fixall actually replaced one, $800. If you get a bad inverter board, but that shouldn't, if you use it a lot, come under warranty. But I wouldn't definitely say not to cheap out on the portable one, even money-wise, because we tried that experience, and you kind of limit yourself on what you can run with it. So, especially if you're expecting at least a day or something without power. Oh, here it is, and there we go.